Hello my friends, today drones visited some sort of the oil facility in Bryansk region. Day by day or night by night, Ukraine is launching drone attacks on Russian territory. Plus today Ukraine hit this facility in Nizhnekamsk, Tatarstan, Russian Federation, and before Russian propaganda filmed a video of how they can strike the Shahed drones exactly at this place. By the way, Russia is building more factories to produce more Shahed drones. So there was the kaboom of the Ukrainian kind of the Shahed looking drone. The same drone facility, by the way, was hit a couple of days ago. And this is Voronezh Oblast, the local oil storage kaboomed. Maybe by itself, sometimes it might happen in Russia. And this is the drone which Ukrainian army is using. You may see it's like Shahed, yeah? Just with a horizontal stabilizer in the front. Yeah, there are numerous of the types of the drones in the Ukrainian army. The most popular is still the looted drone. It's absolutely great that Ukraine continued the pressure on Russian oil infrastructure. Today there was the big meeting between the Russian oil and gas companies, representatives or maybe chiefs, and the Russian government. They are quite concerned about the situation because Russia is losing its refinery capabilities because of the Ukrainian drone sanctions. That's why for Ukraine it is important to continue. Okay, there is one more big provocation from the Russian side. They started to burn the grass near the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. Energodar, it's better to say Zaporizhia is after all further away, but the name of this NPP is Zaporizhia. Nevertheless, you see what happens there, and Russia already accused Ukraine for striking the territory of NPP, which caused the fire. But in fact, it didn't happen. Well, maybe it was just a local wildfire appear more or less on its own, yeah, neglectance with a cigarette or something at the field close to nuclear power plant, and from this perspective it looks like there is the fire on territory, but judging on the scale of those towers, I would say it's pretty much far away. A head of the Ukrainian military intelligence, Budanov, attended the Snake Islands, and the photos were shared today with him really presented there. As well as he was spotted in one of the gas towers in the Black Sea, before Ukraine took control over several of the gas towers. Well, it's hard to say for what reason Budanov attended those places. Could be his PR campaign, I may call it, or what, but in a way it shows the incompetence of the Russian intelligence. If Budanov is there, why Russia didn't attack the towers in the Snake Island? They have the capabilities, they have navy, they have aviation, everything. And from the past stories we already know that Russia has the plans to zero or cancel Budanov. Well, in this case, they probably were not even aware of his visits. Okay, we have the message from the Russian foreign ministry, and it could be the sign of the false flag operation that they're getting ready for before the meeting between Donald Trump and Putin. The meeting will happen already. I'm 99% sure about it because the preparations are almost done. Unfortunately, yeah, but it will happen. So Russians say that Kiev regime is preparing a provocation to foil the Russian-American talks. Ahead of the summit on Friday, the armed forces of Ukraine plan a strike against a residential quarter or hospital with a large number of civilian casualties recorded by Western journalists. So if Russia says like that, they are preparing for this provocation themselves to accuse later on Kiev for this attack. So yeah, Ukrainians now should be way more careful. By the way, Russia was preparing for the strike against Ukraine using strategic aviation the day before yesterday, and they sent their airplanes, strategic airplanes from Ukrainka base to Engels and Olenia. But probably Putin postponed the strike because of the meeting, so airplanes flown back to Ukrainka base. Speaking about the spiderweb operation which touched Olenia and Engels main military airfields, there was also the attempt for Ukraine to conduct it in Ukrainka, but the track that was going there kaputted on the way, which makes it the only major Russian strategic aviation airfield not being touched by spiderweb. Why Russian media is sharing this strange information? They say that the Ukrainian army is gathering forces in Yuryevo, that's the settlement very close to the Kursk region of Russia, not far away from Tyotkino, and they say that Ukraine is getting ready for one more offensive towards the Russian territory, full-scale offensive as it was 1 year ago. Then Ukraine used lots of the forces, and here they say that Ukraine gathered 70,000 troops. Strangely, but the similar information was spread by the Russian Z channels a couple of days ago. Some Russian military influencers say that Ukraine aims definitely for Kursk, different say that Bryansk, Belgorod. I honestly don't know how to comment that. I don't think that Ukraine will start or should start this operation right now. Then the situation in Pokrov's direction, Dobropilya, is kind of critical, if not close to catastrophe. So logically, I don't think that Ukraine will start this operation. Moreover, honestly saying, the outcome of the Kursk operation is also kind of strange. But you know, even Russian political prisoner, we may call him like this, even Girkin Strelkov, who is definitely in the Russian prison, nevertheless he sends messages to his wife and she posts them regularly on Telegram channel. I would say that in prison he publishes even more information compared to what it was before, so he also stated that Ukraine is getting ready for full offensive on territory of Russia. But Strelkov is kind of pessimistic relative to the Russian current government and what is happening in Russia in general, so I wouldn't trust him on that. He also says about possible landing operation of Ukrainian army in Crimea. Well, at the current stage, I don't think it's possible. Oh guys, we have some fresh video from the Pokrov's direction. I wonder when it was filmed and also where. I hope not far away from Dobropilya, where Russia started their major assault. Well, here I see some of the trenches. Ukrainian army used some of the cluster shells, artillery shells, demolishing Russian positions. Yeah, I don't have the geolocation, but judging on this vehicle, which was kaboomed, I think that it's after all not the Dobropilya direction, because Russians there are not using any sort of the armored vehicles. Great news from Azerbaijan. They are planning to allocate roughly $2 million for support of the Ukrainian humanitarian programs. Yeah, you may say 2 million is not much, but Azerbaijan actually intensified their support of Ukraine recently. It happened because of the political confrontation between the Russian regime and Azerbaijani government. Azerbaijan used some of the gas pipelines in Ukraine and Russia hit those recently, increasing the pressure on Azerbaijan. But Azerbaijan officials in media already stated that they will think about even military support of Ukraine if strikes continue. The tensions are very high between Russia and Azerbaijan. Romanian media somehow reported that there could be the operation done by the Russian side to contaminate the Azerbaijani oil which goes through Georgia to Turkey and further for export. Allegedly, Russia mixed a large amount of the concentrated chloride into the oil pipeline. Well, if it definitely happened, I wouldn't be surprised, especially that Georgia is now politically pro-Russian.
$3000 в месяц.
This scammer, he is actually a big businessman, originally from Moldova, calls for the protests and he will pay for those $3,000 per month for everyone who would like to participate. They will use cryptocurrency for it and they do not hesitate to say about it openly, so oh my god. I just recall how Russians complain about Ukrainian protests and Ukrainian Maidan revolution back in 2014. They say that every participant was paid, but now they openly say that they're gonna pay for the protests. So not ideological factors here, but the pure corruption. Alright, this is big, especially right now before the meeting between Donald Trump and Putin. Russia is suspected to be behind breach of federal court filing system. It's appeared to be like that. Russians hacked the court system of USA. I wonder what exactly was touched, and the Justice Department previously issued a guidance in early 2021 about protecting federal court documents after the case management system was firstly hacked. So it goes since 2021. Those Russian attempts, because there could be just two players, yeah, with this hacking. China and Russia. Well, maybe also North Korea, but I don't think so. Orban, long time no see, and he is again about Ukraine. He said that Ukraine has lost the war already. My friends, despite what is happening right now on the front lines, Ukraine cannot be defeated because Ukrainian people will never ever accept Russians ruling. It is understandable for everyone. Plus, in the long term, Russia has no perspective for survival. It's the destiny for any sort of the empire, especially the Russian one, which is not solid from inside and it has the internal crisis. I think Prigozhin showed it to everyone. So I'm sure that Ukraine will not be occupied, and this is Prig. He's just delusional pro-Russian leader of Hungary. Hungarians are awesome, but this idiot is ruling Hungary temporary. He's ruling it like one more Russian oblast. So yeah, Russia has won war in Ukraine, Hungary's Orban says. Where is the celebration? Where is the Russian parade in the Red Square? Salutes, fireworks, whatsoever. Orban, what is happening? Why Russian soldiers are being zeroed in Ukraine? Why? Reason. It's victory. Russia has won. Hooray. Oh, I see, Orban. This is the celebration, right? With many of the Russian flags and VDV, paratroopers flags. Definitely, those Russians are victorious. Or those Russians somewhere. And it is the new cemetery they built, especially for military. Just look how big. And it's a remote region of Russia. Everything is fresh. All of the flowers, all of the flags of the Russian army. But Russian people are okay with those losses, you know. They don't care, volatile society, and many of them, they support the policy of Vladimir Putin. That's why, guys, I think that the war will continue anyways. And Russia is looking for more meat. We have this case of the Russian Gosuslugi, so the government services, they have the special application. And with the new Russian legislation, they might send this message like on WhatsApp, Telegram or Viber. And particular Russian men should click on the link and fulfill the form and go to the Russian conscription service to serve in the Russian army. If he wouldn't do it in 7 days, all of the bank accounts of particular individual are going to be blocked, driver's license cancelled and borders closed. So after this message, 7 days to pack the things and leave. I would say it's the best variant for many of Russians. Oh boy, remember the information about Putin's daughter that she went live and even said something against her father? Well, I just mentioned that she went live. I couldn't find any sort of the posts of her, definitely, that she said something against Putin. The original post was just absent and Bild presented this information with the image, but in fact it was a photoshopped image from the model Daria Aron. So Bild has already removed this publication from their website because it was confirmed as the fake information. That's why, guys, then I see some of the misinformation fakes, I always say about it. If I see it, of course, because many of the YouTubers, bloggers report about this stuff, about how harsh definitely the illegitimate daughter of Putin towards her father, that he ruined her life and lives of many others. But actually, it was just the bullshit shared by, in this case, Bild. My friends, a few hours ago I released the video about the front lines updates, about the Russian breakthrough and how Ukraine tries to cope with it, deploying really capable forces of the 1st Azov Corps, and hopefully they're gonna stop the Russian offensive, plus many more reinforcements are coming, but they need some time for deployment. Well, anyways, I'm gonna update you, I'm gonna film more, and it is only possible because of your support on Patreon. So guys, thank you so much for your motivation. If you want to support me, please, the link is in the video description below. Thank you so much, my friends, and I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.